Arise, queens. This is the All Queens Army, where women are provided with the tools you need to overcome your fears, face your flaws, and experience breakthroughs as you develop self-esteem so strong you emanate royalty. Now, for your host and commander of the All Queens Army, Breezy Time.
Welcome to the All Queens Army podcast. This is your girl, your host, Breezy Time. I am here today with another dope episode for the queens. Yes, honey, super duper excited to be in your ears because you queens know you are in my heart. Yes, you are queens. I'm super stoked as always to be here on another beautiful motivational Monday because Monday's my favorite day of the week because it's the start of a new beginning. Some people say Sunday is the start of a new week, but child, Sunday is my day to relax, kick my feet up, actually not do anything but rejuvenate and recoup my energy. So Mondays, I get to start super duper fresh. And that's why I chose to drop episodes on Monday. It's a fresh new day, new start to the week. First thing in the morning, you can be listening to the All Queens Army podcast and getting some of that dope ass motivation to get your week started. Okay. So today's episode is going to be a continuation from last week, which I already told you that last week. If you listened to that episode, you already know that, but we're going to be talking about how to survive a breakup. So last week, what we talked about is being able to see the potential signs of when it's time to move on, when it's time to sever a relationship, when it's time to let the person go. That's what we talked about last week. I finished off with giving you about five or six different tips on how to move on from that. Now, this week, what we're going to be talking about is how to survive the breakup, how to deal with and process the pain that you feel when a relationship ends. And it doesn't matter whether you sever the relationship or whether someone else severed the relationship. We're going to be talking about how to process that pain and how to survive the breakup. So before we get into that content really quickly, I want you queens to check out the All Queens Army website. It's fairly new. I've been saying it's new for a while, but it's not really that new anymore because I've been saying it for like 2 months now. But the new website actually has some e-courses out there. The e-courses are for you queens to be able to delve deeper into the content and the topics that we talk about on the podcast episodes and the topics that you read on the motivational blog, okay? So the reason that I created them is so that when you queens have questions and you need some more advice or you need to go a little bit deeper or the podcast episode doesn't go deep enough into how to deal with your personal or your specific issue, you can actually take one of the courses and you can kind of move at your own pace. They go really deep into a lot of self-reflection so that you can truly heal, so that you can truly evolve, so that you know exactly what to do, so that you can break through and overcome some of the shit that's holding you back. That's why I created those e-courses. I'm getting a lot of questions and a lot of DMs with specific questions, and some of those questions can be answered if you queens take the e-courses. They're free. I made them for you as continuations of the podcast episodes, okay? So go check them out. Go take them when you have some time. Again, you can move at your own pace. You can do them in the privacy of your own home, at work, in a car, wherever you feel comfortable, okay? Also, make sure you're reading the blog. It comes out every Thursday morning at 6 a.m. There are different topics than what we talk about on the podcast, so that's even more motivation. That's like double the motivation for the week. So 6 a.m. on Thursdays, get your coffee, get your tea. Just take 15 minutes to read up on a blog, get your daily motivation so that you can have a productive rest of your week. So that's what we have on the website. The last thing is if you haven't subscribed to the All Queens Army podcast, do that on the website. The website is allqueensarmy.com. Click the subscribe tab and then choose whichever platform you want. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, SoundCloud, Spotify, YouTube, and iTunes. Okay, so now that we have all of that out of the way, let's talk about how to process the pain from a breakup, okay? How do we survive these breakups? How do we deal with the emotional turmoil? How do we deal with all the yucky shit that we feel, the agony? It's awful sometimes, right? Sometimes breakups are awful. I mean, they feel horrible. Sometimes breakups aren't so bad. It just depends on the relationship. It depends on when you left the relationship or when the person left you. It depends on a lot of different things. But what I see happen a lot of times in perusing Instagram, in perusing Facebook, in my DMs, in my emails, I see a lot of women who go through breakups or they cut the guy off or they ghost the guy or whatever it is that they're doing. And they are tough Tony, honey. A lot of these queens out here acting like they have no feelings. They don't give a shit. They so tough. I cut him off. Don't have time for that. I don't care. I'm unbothered. I see that type of response and reaction to breakups so much so that it actually is a little concerning, because I want to make sure, queens, that you are truly dealing with how you really feel. As women, I'm not saying that some of us can't be tough. I'm not saying that some of us haven't gotten to a place where we're so sick of the shit that we deal with on a regular basis that we haven't been hardened a little bit. But I want to make sure, queens, that you are taking care of your emotional well-being, that you are taking care of your emotional health, and you're practicing good emotional hygiene, because it's not healthy to just act like you don't give a shit if you really do. It's not healthy to put on that mask of tough when you really don't feel so tough. So there's so many queens who secretly feel upset, hurt, bitter, frustrated, angry, all of those feelings that are being felt because of the way that relationships are turning out, or what they're experiencing, or how men are acting, or how women are acting. And there's so many people who have feelings because of it, or have pain because of it, but they're covering up that pain with a nonchalant and aloof and an unbothered attitude. Okay, so I want to make sure, queens, that you are really processing this pain. Do not act like it doesn't matter or you don't care when you really do. Queen, if you hurt, say you hurt. If you're sad, say you're sad. If your heart is broken, say your heart is broken. Honey, I have been there. My heart was literally shattered into smithereens, honey. My heart was so broken, I didn't even know if that shit could be put back together. But the only way that you're going to heal and be able to process the pain that you feel and be able to move on is if you acknowledge what you really feel. Queens, if you keep walking around acting like you don't have feelings, acting like you're super duper tough, I also see a lot of women say, oh, men are the sensitive ones now. Women don't care as much. Queens, I just want to make sure, while I love that stance. I love the fact that women are getting stronger emotionally and being more emotionally stable. I love that. I celebrate that. I preach that. I just want to make sure, queens, that when you come home at night, when it's just you and you, that you are really dealing with how you truly, truly feel. Because breakups suck. Breakups hurt. Breakups create trauma. Breakups create some bitterness sometimes. Breakups prevent you from being able to trust. Breakups make you lose hope in love. There's so many things that happen when you go through breakups. So, queens, I'm just asking that you be honest and genuine and vulnerable, not to anyone else, but just with yourself, between you and you. Make sure that you truly are dealing with how you really feel. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I'm talking to women who really do feel and acknowledge the hurt that they're going through, or the frustration that they're going through, or the feelings of being let down and disappointed. I just want to address those women, because there really are those women who feel those feelings. Everyone isn't walking around super tough and not giving a fuck about the relationship that just ended. Some of us as queens are really hurting, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So one of the things that I learned that actually encouraged me to want to talk about this topic is that your brain processes the pain of a breakup the same way it processes physical pain. As far as your brain is concerned, when you're going through a breakup and you feel heartbreak, it feels like a physical break, like something physically is broken. That's how deep that pain is felt, to the point where your brain is registering it as something physical in your body or on your body being broken. Some people even process a breakup like it's a loss, like a death, literally like a person just died. It's almost like you're going into mourning. This person is no longer. They're gone. So breakups really truly do take a toll on us physically and emotionally, okay? So some of us who really do truly feel that hurt, and like I said, that disappointment, that frustration, that bitterness, that anger, that sadness, even that depression when a relationship ends, it's really real, queens. And I want you queens to know that it's truly okay to feel that way. Here's the other reason that I chose to talk about this particular topic. When you're in pain from a breakup, unlike the pain of a physical injury, the pain from a breakup or heartbreak or rejection or whatever it is that you experienced as far as the breakup, that pain actually lasts longer than what normal physical pain from a physical injury would feel like. So the thing about pain from a heartbreak or letdown or relationships or something like that, that pain is not only just as severe and feeling as if you've broken something, it also lasts longer. And that's why we have to talk about it. One of the main reasons that it takes a while to truly recover from heartbreak while you feel that pain for so long is because we usually indulge in thoughts and behaviors that may feel natural and compelling, but they actually make things worse. And this happens because we lack awareness that our natural way of responding to emotional wounds often makes the injury worse. We just aren't aware that the things that we do to try to cope with the pain actually create the pain pain to be more intensified or last longer than it would if we would let things happen naturally, okay? So Queens, here's what I want to do in today's episode. We're going to talk about some of the behaviors that we participate in. Some of these are habits. And a lot of times these are things that we're doing because we lack awareness that these things can make our pain worse. So we're going to talk about some of the things that we do, some of the behaviors, some of the habits that we have created that can prolong the pain or make the pain last longer than necessary or prevent us from healing altogether. Here's some of those behaviors that we want to avoid, okay? The first thing is negative self-talk. Negative self-talk is where you start looking at yourself and start blaming yourself and start finding fault in yourself and start picking apart your actions, what you did, how you responded to something, having regrets. I shouldn't have did this. I shouldn't have said that. This is what pushed it over the edge. Maybe if I didn't act this way, maybe if I was more of that. When you start critiquing and criticizing yourself and having those negative conversations with yourself about yourself, that is actually damaging to the healing process and will cause you to stay in that awful space of pain for longer periods of time, okay? Here's another behavior. Idealizing the person. A lot of times as women, what we'll do is we'll start putting that person on a pedestal. That immediate jolt of pain that we feel suddenly just wipes out all of the issues that we were conscious of, all of the things that that person did that hurt us that we were conscious of, all of the problems that we were conscious of, even some of the reasons why we know that this person may not be the right person for us or that relationship may not be the right relationship for us. We wipe that out of our short-term memory and we start just focusing on all of the good things about the person and idealizing them, putting them up on a pedestal, making them out to be so great because we start to purposely not look at some of the problems, some of the issues, and we look at only the good stuff. That is a very unhealthy response, okay? Because we're not looking at the whole picture. We're picking and choosing what we want to focus on to create a perception that's pleasing to us at the moment. And that's actually more hurtful. It's more hurtful because you're not being realistic and you're not being honest with yourself. So please make sure you avoid doing that, okay? Another behavior that you want to try to avoid. Withdrawing for long periods of time. Withdrawing from your family, withdrawing from your friends, withdrawing from people at work, withdrawing from going out, withdrawing from social engagement. Now again, keep in mind that I said for long periods of time because it is natural to withdraw initially. When you first go through something, that first reality hit that you get that the relationship is over, a lot of times you do withdraw because you need to self-heal. You need to kind of go into yourself and have your moment to mourn the loss of that relationship or the loss of that person. So yes, withdrawing is actually healthy. However, withdrawing for long periods of time, when it gets to the point where you're withdrawing and you're not talking to your family and you're not responding to your friends, that's actually a sign that something bigger is going on with you emotionally. So you want to be careful of that, Queens, okay? And if you have any friends or any family members who you can see are withdrawn like that, do a well-being check on that person and just make sure that they are okay because that is a sign of a deeper emotional issue. Okay, so here's another behavior. Keeping painful reminders. Painful reminders are those little mementos. We talked about this in last week's episode, okay? If you have things that belong to the person, if you have things that remind you of the person, pictures, vacation little mementos, anything that's around you that reminds you of that person, the best thing for you to do with those little mementos or those little painful reminders is remove them from your immediate vision. If they're laying around in your house, in your bedroom, on your desk at your job, if they're anywhere in your immediate vicinity, you need to remove them. I'm not saying burn them down, throw them away. You don't have to do all of that. Put them in a box and put them somewhere that you just can't see or that you can't get to. Because continuing to see those things, you're actually reliving those moments over and over and over again. And it just brings out the memory, whether it's a good or a bad one. Either one, it's not good for you to stew over because that relationship is over. That situation is gone. That situation is put to bed. So now you have to get yourself to a place where you start to move on and you start to grow and you start to get past those old emotions. And you can't get there if you're constantly reliving in the memory of something that already happened. Okay, here's the last behavior that I have that you want to change. And this is probably the biggest one. Y'all know I always like to save the biggest one for last, right? So here's probably the biggest one. Jumping into a new emotional bond. Now, Queens, I see this all the time. In my personal life, I have seen people do this. We have to be careful of this, okay? What happens a lot of times in this situation where people are jumping into new emotional bonds is trying to fill the void. You feel the pain from the breakup, or you feel the void from that person being there because they're no longer there anymore. Maybe you two spent a certain amount of time together, maybe a certain things that you did together, and now you don't have that person to do that with you. Now you don't have that space filled, like that space is empty. Maybe you don't have the person that you can communicate with or talk to or vent to, whatever it is. If you try to fill that void with another person too quickly, you are going to create some problems. You're going to prevent yourself from being able to heal because you need to leave the wound alone. Don't try to go and put something on the wound that you think it's going to heal. It needs to heal naturally and over time. Don't do that to yourself because you really will. You will stunt your healing. Here's the bigger picture of stunting your healing, the bigger problem that comes with that. When you stunt your healing, which means basically you're just preventing yourself from healing the way you need to, or you only healed to a certain space, but you're not really healed all the way through. You're going to take the baggage of that relationship and you're going to carry that shit to the next relationship. So it's unresolved pain. It's unresolved feelings. It's unresolved issues that you're going to carry into the next relationship. And here's what happens. If you carry that shit into the next relationship, the same exact thing that you just went through with the person that you're going through the breakup with, you're going to go through that same shit with the new person. And there's so many of the queens who reach out to me and they'll say, I just feel like I'm going through the same thing over and over and over again. Or I feel like every relationship I have the same problem, but it's just a different person or it's done in a different capacity. That's why. Because somewhere in your history of relationships, something went unhealed. There's something within you that you didn't allow to heal properly. Now, queens, let me just sidebar really quickly. Healing hurts. Healing does not feel good. Healing is challenging. Healing is not easy. Healing is hard sometimes. And a lot of times when people are going through breakups, what they're going through is the healing process. And because it hurts and it doesn't feel good and it brings up some shit that you may not want to deal with that you've buried deep, deep down inside, some people will try to avoid going through that. And to avoid going through that pain, it's so easy to find someone else to talk to, or to find someone else to have sex with, or to find someone else to go out with, or to find someone else to take you to dinner, or to find someone else to fill this void. It's not good. Just wait until you're healed. Because when you do that, you create a cycle that can go on for years. I mean years, because every single time you engage a new person without healing that pain that was caused from whatever relationship it was caused in, every new person that you add on is a new layer over top of that wound. Every single person, right? So if you've dealt with 2 guys, 3 guys, 5 guys, 10 guys, and I'm not saying you slept with all of them. I'm not saying you were in a relationship with all of them. I'm talking about people creating emotional bonds with people. You don't have to even physically see a person to create an emotional bond. You can create an emotional bond talking to someone over the phone for 2 and 3 years. If you don't believe me, watch the show Catfish. People create emotional bonds with people because they're trying to fill these voids. And every person that you create an emotional bond with is a new layer over top of your wound. And so you're walking around and you're creating new relationships and new bonds and new situations with all of these different people, and you keep running into the same problem because you never dealt with what's going on with that wound. It's just there, infected and yucky and getting worse and worse and worse the longer you ignore it. So what happens is when you do that, when you do finally try to resolve it, that shit is buried so deep under so many other situations. Sometimes it's hard to get to. Sometimes it makes it difficult to even resolve because you can't even identify it. You don't even know it exists anymore. It's lost in the sauce somewhere, honey. So that jumping into new emotional bonds, that one is detrimental. I mean, very detrimental. And you have to be very, very careful of that, queens, okay? So I know I get super duper passionate. Y'all should know me by now. I get super passionate about stuff like that because I've been through this shit. I've had to dig, and it took me years to get over some of the shit that I buried from the voids that I was trying to fill. And it took me so long to get to a place that I should have been 10 years prior. But it took me a long time to actually get through all of that stuff. And then it took a lot of work, okay? It took a lot of work to heal emotionally from all of the shit that I was neglecting. So that's why I get super passionate. And I hope for you, queens, that you don't allow that to happen in your life, because the more shit you put on top of your wounds, your pain, your hurt, the more you neglect it, the more you act like it doesn't exist, the more you try to shrug your shoulders and be tough and be savage and all of that shit, the more you try to do that, the more emotional pain you create for yourself. And when you do finally go to deal with it, if you ever even get to that point where you're ready to confront it and you're ready to deal with it it is so much harder to actually get to the core of the problem and work on it because you've put so much stuff over top of it to bury it. But it never goes away. It's always there. So the best thing for you to do is to heal as it happens. When you fall and you bruise your knee, let it heal right away instead of continuing to move around and do shit and making it worse and worse and worse to the point where they damn near have to amputate your whole goddamn leg just to heal you. You don't want it to go that far. And that's essentially what happens, okay? So be careful of things like that, queens. Again, I'm not trying to be too tough. I love y'all. I want to be gentle, but I also want you to understand and want you to know what you could be getting yourself into if you don't deal with the pain immediately and you start incorporating some of those behaviors that I just mentioned previously. Those behaviors will do nothing for you but make your pain last longer than it needs to, or prevent you from healing altogether. And if you're not healing, honey, I'm telling you now, you're going to find it very difficult to get over this current relationship or heartbreak that you're in. You're going to find it very difficult to get over it. And if you don't get over it, if you don't learn how to process that pain, what you're going to do is create problems in your next relationships or potentially block your blessings. Because the man or woman that God has here for you, the man or woman that's meant for you to spend the rest of your life with, may not be able to live through all of your baggaged shit that you have coming along with you. Just like you may not want to or may not be able to deal with a whole bunch of shit from someone else. It's unfair. You've got to come to the table knowing what your stuff is and being willing to work through it. And it's hard for people to work through it when they can't identify it because they've buried it so deep under all of the shit. Okay, queen, so it's important to learn how to practice good emotional hygiene when going through a breakup so that you can stop the pain as soon as possible and start healing immediately, okay? Now, here's how you can do it. You know, I'm always going to give you some tips on how you can do this, okay? So here's the first thing. Number one rule, best thing in the world. I mentioned it a little bit last week. I'm going to start with it today. Cut all contact. Number one, most important bullet point ever in the history of the world. If you want to heal, if you're ready to move on, you have to cut all contact. You queens will be surprised how many women I know and men who I know who go through a breakup and still talk to the person every single day or key on the phone with them and all of that and say that they're friends. Listen, you can get to a point where you're friends with your ex. You can. But it takes time. When you first break up with the person, you're not emotionally in a place to be friends with them. And if you are, because maybe you broke up with them, but that person may not be there. They may not be in a place where they can be a friend to you yet. You have to give that time. Developing a friendship after a breakup takes time because both people need to be completely healed before a real friendship can survive. So I hear a lot of people saying that, oh, we're just going to be friends. Oh, we're going to do. Look, a lot of times when people say they're going to be friends, they're still holding on to that emotional connection because they're really not ready to let it go. Or someone's using the other person for something that they're still getting out of the relationship, whether it's sex or money or something physical or emotional or whatever the case may be, right? It could be ego stroking. It could be anything, okay? It is the most unhealthy thing you can do, the most hurtful thing that you can do. The biggest set of baggage that you can carry is continuing to talk to the person who, one, you're not really completely over, or two, they're not completely over you. If you are still talking to that person, like I said, keying, buddying it up, acting like you guys are friends and cool and this and that, but there's still some unresolved feelings in there, it's immature, it's silly, and queens, you need to cut all contact. Okay, if you're the person who's moved on and you don't care, you have an ex who's still holding on, who's still in love with you. If you are still entertaining that bullshit, you're blocking your blessing from the next person who could love the shit out of you. Because someone who's ready to love the shit out of you, the person that God has here for you, is not going to tolerate you keying and carrying on with someone who still has feelings for you. And I'll say one more thing about that. If you're the person who's still keying with the person who has feelings for you, you're probably just getting your ego stroked and you have some self-esteem issues. You're leaning on that person to make you feel good, to make you feel loved, to make you feel like you're still a bad bitch. You don't need that. You have to cut that off. Sever those ties. If someone still has feelings for you, someone's still in love with you, and you're not there with them, cut them off until they heal. And if it's you, if you still have feelings for someone, if you still love someone, cut them off until you heal. You have to cut the contact. Don't be their friend on Facebook. Don't follow them on Instagram. Don't go back reading old text messages or old emails. Don't go looking at old pictures. Don't go reminiscing about anything. Don't call them and text them and key on the phone. Don't talk to them about their current relationships. Don't talk to them about your current relationships. Cut them off. Okay, here's the second thing. Let your emotions out, your true feelings, how you really feel. Have a vulnerable moment. Cry if you need to. Talk to your friend, vent it out. Or here's one of my favorite things. Write it in your journal. Diary your feelings. Write them down. You got to let it out some kind of way, okay? And be honest and real with yourself. If you're not comfortable with telling a friend or your mom or family member or someone that you trust, if you're not comfortable with them and being vulnerable and telling them how you really feel, then journal it. You don't have to tell anybody. Okay, here's the next thing. Accept the fact that the relationship is over. Don't overanalyze it. Don't overthink it. Don't start thinking about what happened last Monday at 2 a.m. or 2 years ago when he told you this or she told you that. Don't do that to yourself. If you do that to yourself, you're going to drive yourself crazy, and that goes right back into those bad behaviors that lengthen the time for healing. Those are not good things to do. Okay, so just accept the fact that it's over. That's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes that's a little difficult to do. Some people ask me, because I know it's coming, how do you accept it when it still hurts? So how do you accept it when you still want to be with the person or when you're still hoping that things will work out? Journal. Write it down. Write down how you feel. I'm telling you, queens, if you use a journal and you write down how you feel, when you let things out and you're able to see it outside looking in, it looks so much different. Journal it, journal it, journal it. Write it down. Write down how you feel. Write down the goals that you have. Write down where you aspire to be emotionally. Use your journals, okay? The next thing, focus on yourself and find yourself again. Get back to being you. All of us give a lot into relationships, especially women. We give a lot into relationships because we're nurturers, and sometimes we lose ourselves a little bit. We lose who we are. We lose our identities. Sometimes we even lose our badassness. We lose that confidence. We lose that sassiness. Sometimes we lose that. So just find yourself again, whoever that is, and get back into being who you are. Here's another good one. Exercise. There's a lot of people that I know who started exercising after a breakup and focusing on their health and focusing on their body and their physique. And it's a really, really good way to create some positive energy and feel good and build your confidence. So that's another one that you can do. Here's another one. Focus on positive things. Positive things could be reading something positive, watching something funny on TV. Like for a week, just watch comedy, watch things that make you laugh, watch things that make you feel good, listen to things that make you laugh, okay? Do things that make you feel good. Be around people who make you feel good. Be around people or start following a whole bunch of people on social media who encourage you, who make you feel strong, who make you remember who the fuck you are, okay? Follow those types of people. Talk to those types of people. Make friends with those types of people, okay? Read books that make you feel that way. Watch YouTube videos that make you feel that way. Listen to podcast episodes. Read blogs. Anything that instills that good, strong, I'm a bad bitch energy. Anything that makes you feel good and confident and makes you laugh and makes you feel positive energy. Do that, okay? Get a dog. Oh my gosh, pets are the best. Oh my goodness. I'm a dog person, but anyway, if you ain't a dog person, get a cat. I don't know. Get something. Okay. And then the last and most important thing, this is actually it. This is the it factor. This is the thing that will immediately help you to heal your pain and heal your heart and stop the agony that you're going through, okay? Learn the lesson. In every relationship, there is a lesson. As a matter of fact, every relationship is just a mirror. You're literally looking at yourself. That person is you. That person is projecting you to you. That's all relationships are. When I say things like relationships are institutions for growth, that's what I mean. A relationship is an institution for growth because a relationship allows you to experience you. Now, a lot of you are going to reject that because you're going to say, but I'm not a this or I'm not a that and I don't do a this and I don't say a that because that's what you see from the other person because those are the characteristics that you see. Now, when you see those characteristics that you say, well, that's not me. Like, let's say the person you were with was a cheater and you're like, well, I've never cheated a day in my life. Well, the way that that person is reflecting you to you is because you may be a person who tolerates cheating all the time and the universe is trying to teach you not to. The universe is allowing you to experience that shit over and over and over and over and over again until you find finally say, you know what? Enough is enough. I'm not dealing with this shit. The universe may be trying to get you to create some boundaries. The universe may be trying to teach you some self-respect. The universe may be trying to teach you your value. Finally making you step up, making you go through the same shit over and over and over again. So sometimes the things that you see in the person that you were with or the person that you're still with that you just don't identify, you're like, that's not me. That's not a reflection of me. It is. It's something deep inside of you that you need to heal. That's what's reflecting. What do you need to grow through? What do you need to recognize? So many people will say things like, I'm not letting no man treat me that way, and then be the same person who lets a man treat them that way. It just sounds good to you to make yourself believe that you don't put up with that shit. But when that man does it, you put up with it. And that's the reason that sometimes we continue to go through the same thing over and over and over and over again. That's also the reason why sometimes you're attracting a person and you're thinking, but I'm not attracting me. This isn't me. I don't do stuff like this. I don't believe in that law of attraction shit. I don't believe that a relationship is a mirror, because he's not mirroring who I am. He's mirroring what you need to work on. The relationship is mirroring what you need to heal. The relationship is revealing some of the shit that you tolerate and that you allow that you need to stop tolerating and allowing if ever you want to manifest what you're praying for and what you're asking for. So that's how you have to see it. Relationships are institutions for growth, whether they work or don't work. There's something for you to learn. The relationship is not about you focusing on what the other person did or what they didn't do or the type of person he was. I'm not going to let him do this to me again. I'm not going to let her treat me that way again. I'm not going to deal with this type of person again. That's not what the relationship is about. It's not about focusing on the other person. The relationship is about focusing on you. Why did you end up with this type of person? Why were you attracted to this type of person? Why did you tolerate these types of things? Why did you allow this to happen for so long? It's about you. Why did you do it? Why did you allow it? Why did you like it? How did you get here? And then learn from it so that you don't continue to repeat that cycle over and over and over again. Okay? So that's what relationships are about, queens. Okay, so I'm going to stop preaching now. I'm going to stop preaching. I hope I helped you. Please receive what I'm saying with love. I love you, queens. I absolutely do. I have been through so much shit in my life that all I want to do is help another queen to not go through what I had to go through. If I can just help one queen. We have like 900, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,100 followers on Instagram. We have like 700 on Facebook. We have over 12,000 podcast downloads, and none of that shit matters. All that matters is that I help one woman to not go through what I went through. So if it sounds like sometimes I'm being a little tough or I'm being a little hard, it's only because I'm super duper passionate about preaching to you what I learned. And if that can help anyone, I've done my job. So I love you, queens, so much. I don't think you queens will really understand how much I love you. I hope you can feel it through my words, through my passion, through my energy. And I hope that you tune in again next week, because I'll have some more dope episodes for you. But if you have any questions in the meantime, if you need to reach out to me, if you want to talk to me or have any questions, you can always email me at breezy@allqueensarmy.com. That is BREIZY @allqueensarmy.com. I love you so much, queens. I hope you have a beautiful Monday. Make sure you drop in on the website and read the blog on Thursday. I love you so much, queens. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the All Queens Army podcast. If you want to connect with Breezy Time and the All Queens Army, be sure to follow them on IG and Facebook at All Queens Army. Or head over and check out the All Queens Army YouTube channel. Until next time.